Good evening, everybody. How are we going? Great to see you all. G'day, Ian. G'day, Peter, Ryan, Graham, Vicky, Fleur, Chris, Rachel Whiting. Lovely to see you. Suzanne. Hi, Annie. How you going? Great to see you. I've got everybody muted at the moment, but if you'd like to speak, you can unmute yourself. G'day, Barry. Great to see you. Got a few others. Linda Kitson's connecting. So we've got a few connecting. So that's great. Just while we're waiting for everyone to join, it's lovely to have you guys here. Is my audio okay? Is it all right? Yeah, good. Okay. I'm in the gallery. It gets a bit echoey, and I was going to try some speakers, but I didn't bring the right gear. So that's okay. I'll just get rid of that there. So welcome. Thanks very much for joining me. I thought tonight was a good opportunity to sort of run through what I've done this year. We've done on the workshops in particular. That's where most of my travel comes from these days. And then sort of look ahead to 2024 and what we're up to. What I haven't done more recently is showing you all of the trips that we've done this year. And yeah, we're going to be going through a bit of that tonight. Not doing everything though, in terms of like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I wanted to show you I won't show you tonight. Just don't have time. We'll be here all night otherwise. But I will in 2024 put together some presentations and dedicate one night just to Yellowstone, for example, and another night to Botswana, etc. So you'll get a taste for what we did this year. But it's no means comprehensive, and I'll do that in the new year. Okay, just ran out of time this year to do all of that, and so we are recording the session tonight, so I hope you don't mind with that. Just recording that, just so that we can share this with everybody else who is wanting to see the presentation, because it's a busy time of year, and of course, not everybody is available to watch on a Thursday night before Christmas. Okay. Feel free to ask any questions tonight, by the way. I want it to be a little bit interactive. So if you've got any questions about the photography or about what we did, etc., I will have everybody muted, I should say. So just unmute yourself. You can press the space bar to unmute yourself, etc. So feel free to ask any questions. We have a couple of guests coming on this evening, I hope. I fear that they will be perhaps somewhat under the influence of alcohol by the time they come on board. But we do have a couple of guest presenters, hopefully, fingers crossed, if they remember, if I remember, etc., etc. Vicky, I might put you in charge of the chat tonight. Do you mind doing that? Do you mind looking at the chat and just relaying any questions that people might have? We're going to give a couple away. I'm feeling in the Christmas spirit, so I thought it'd be nice to give away a couple of things, and let's give a couple of the books away. So, Vicky, you and I can decide who's asked the best questions this evening, and we'll give away, say, like 3 copies of our Kaditanda Lake Air book. If you've already got it, don't go, I've already got that. How about, that'll be something that I could give to somebody in the new year. Okay? How about that? All right. So just remind me to do that at the end to do the giveaway. Just writing a note for myself of the Kaditanda Lake Air books. Okay. It's been a bit of a quiet year book-wise. We launched the Cradle book in January, but I didn't actually publish anything this year, which has been a nice little breather. But 2024, we're actually going to be doing a new Mornington Peninsula book. We sold out of that. You might have seen that just online the other day. So that'll be exciting. And what else? I don't know. What we should just dive straight into it. Hey, let's start the presentation. Let me share my screen and show you what we have in store for tonight. Okay, so diving in, let's go straight into here and let's go right up to the top, not start there. Okay, February. Let's do that. Hold on, you're seeing, let's do this. I can't see all you if I do that, but I guess that doesn't matter. I might just do that. Okay, you can still, okay. You should be able to see my screen, is that right? You can see my screen? And on that it says February 4352, okay? And what that means, I've decided to have a bit of fun with it tonight, and we're going in chronological order in terms of what we achieved this year, what we got up to, and that number underneath the month is how many photographs I shot in that particular month. And of course, at the end, what we're going to do is show you how many photos I took in total, and just for a bit of fun, bit of interest. So February started with a trip to Yellowstone National Park in America. First time we've run a workshop in the USA with my good friend Juan, who was a fantastic guide, very lovely gentleman. We're running a workshop with him at Costa Rica in 2024, which I can't wait to actually be a part of. And Yellowstone, the purpose of this trip was to go there and photograph the animals in winter. Okay, so much of the park is closed. We had special vehicles to get into certain parts, etc. It's pretty quiet that time of year in the park as well, so we kind of felt like we had the place to ourselves. It was really nice. Anyway, bison, this was obviously like a highlight of the workshop. And this in particular was amazing because we pulled off by the side of the road to photograph this sunset, which that time of year don't get many sunsets, sunrises, anything like that. It's pretty drab, grey and overcast most of the day, snowing if you're lucky. And we had this beautiful pink sunset, and I looked across to the side, and up on the hill about 100 meters away were these bison just silhouetted against the backdrop, walking towards these geysers. So that was quite a surreal, pinch me moment, that's for sure. Much of the time, it was sort of like minus 20 odd degrees there. Beautiful still days, cool still days. Perfect for photography. Cold to say the least, but we had everything to keep ourselves rugged up. So these are a couple of shots from the Lamar Valley, which is sort of up in the sort of top section of Yellowstone. We spent about a week there, driving back and forth, staying in various places outside the national park and inside the national park. This was a brilliant little spot where I was all the time we're driving along. I'm kind of like hunting for photos. One was busy looking for wildlife, and I was busy looking for landscapes. And so I just looked behind me here in this instance and saw the steam rising up off the creek, which is down the bottom of the frame there, and then having that beautiful backlit tree there against that dark background. Really just caught my eye, and we stopped and took this photo. This was taken with a 100 to 400 mil lens. We chased a lot of wildlife in that time, including this fox. Who would have thought that you'd be chasing fox to photograph? Here in Australia, we try and run them over, and yet over there you're trying to photograph them because they look so good. And we got brilliant views with this one here that we sort of followed. It was going parallel alongside the road, and we were racing along the road and following this animal as it sort of was on the hunt. Pretty much ignored us, but then we got some brilliant shots of it along the way as they were sniffing around. Look at its coat, just absolutely glorious. A lot of these photos were taken with my new 800mm f6.3 Nikon lens, which I hadn't had for very long, but really enjoyed using it. And this was, I'm not sure the same fox or not on a different day, but this was just sitting there in the snow. And in fact, this is one of the photographs that we have as part of the exhibition here in the gallery, as part of my sort of best of 2023. Visited various hot springs, etc. I was just really attracted to the starburst coming through the trees here first thing in the morning as the steam from the nearby hot springs drifted through the trees. Absolutely incredible. And then you get these sorts of scenes where you can just get these brilliant shots and lovely layering of the trees and the backgrounds, etc. This was just literally alongside the path where you had these mountains of snow. These are only very small mounds, but with a long lens, compressing the image and getting some really nice, dust bunnies up in the top corner of the frame. Got that shot. Of course, bison are the feature, and one of I think the funnest things we did there was driving past these bison that would walk along the road to get from A to B. And then we would park the car about 100 meters up from where they were walking, jump out of the car, lie on the road, get a very low perspective with our long lenses, and wait until they came into view and photograph as quickly as possible before they got too close. And then the driver would say, "All right, everybody up. You have to get in the vehicle now. There's a minimum distance that we're allowed to approach, or they're allowed to approach us." So it's frantic to then get up and get back in the coach before they come too close towards you. But hell of a lot of fun, and we had various opportunities to photograph the bison while we were there, and the steam coming out of their nostrils, for example, was a feature. And then there was this gorgeous scene. Actually, I'm going to see whether or not when I shared my screen, whether or not I allowed, I might just stop sharing, and whether I allowed advanced screening options, I wanted to make it so that we could share videos. So I'm just going to make sure that optimize share sound, optimize video clip. Let's do that. That's where I need it to be because I've got a video coming up. This shot here was in amongst this gorgeous forest where all these trees had died. I think they were waterlogged. And so we had this gorgeous sunrise one morning, incredibly cold, incredibly still and peaceful and silent, and just a gorgeous glow that we captured off that water there. And this was a moments before. And this we have hanging in the gallery in 1.5 meters as an acrylic piece. And you might have seen this shot already. Not necessarily mine, but a few of the participants have entered them into awards and done very well. And I said to them at the time, I said, this will win awards. This is just such a unique moment and so atmospheric that it did well. And here's hopefully a video of me chatting about that moment. Why is that not playing? Here we go. Can you hear that? Can you hear that sound? I can't hear the sound. Are we getting that sound, guys? I'm not hearing it. Vicky, are we getting that sound?
And so it's just
I'm getting it there.
Abstract photography paradise here this morning. Do I look cold?
I'm losing the sound when I share.
Hope you enjoy. Look at that.
Are you hearing that sound, Vicky? You are. I'm not hearing it at my end, but you're hearing it at your end. That's good to know. Let me bugger off again and play that so that I'm not talking over the top of it. Let's do that again. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize that you were hearing the sound. Take it off full screen there. There we go. Alrighty, I'm not sure why I'm not hearing the sound at mine. That's very disconcerting. But anyway, we shall continue on, hey? Ah, my computer is having a moment. Okay. And then a couple of other beautiful scenes there where the sun eventually came out and we had these beautiful then shadows that were reaching towards us. We just happened to be photographing into the sun, so that was very nice. Just chose to photograph or concentrate on this little tree coming up in the foreground there as well. And then one of the final shots here that I chose for this presentation was of the bison standing around doing their thing, and I just love the layering in that, and sort of part of the work that I want to do with my wildlife photography in 2024 and beyond is not necessarily close-ups of these wildlife, but incorporate my landscape photography into wildlife photography. So having the animals be a small part of the image. So we're showing them in their environment. March was a big month. As you can see there, 20,715 images because we spent 4 weeks in Africa. First and foremost, Mary and I flew over to Botswana and spent a week, 10 days there, doing a recce for a future workshop we're doing there in March of 2025. So we spent some time up on the Chobe River and the Serengeti, not the Serengeti, I should say, down in the Okavango Delta. And then we flew to Tanzania into the Serengeti to run a workshop there for, I think it was about 12 days. There's a lot of photos here. I'll skip through them quite quickly. It was very difficult for me to narrow them down. But these are pretty much all taken with my, again, 800mm lens. This is on the Chobe River, a glorious spot that I can't wait to get back to. This is called the green season. So you may well notice that a lot of the backgrounds are green, and that was done on purpose just because it just looks brilliant in the background for these types of photographs. And as opposed to the dry season where you get these sort of more yellowish backgrounds, so to speak. We had some brilliant times with various different animals, lions, obviously. This was the promo shot that we used for our exhibition, the annual exhibition that we launched back in October here in the gallery. And I don't know whether you can see behind me, but it's if you can see behind me, it's a massive 2-meter high canvas that gets a lot of attention, and I absolutely love it, and I really hope it doesn't sell so I can take it home and have it hanging in my own home. But that is a full frame image, so that's not cropped in at all for effect. That's literally with the 800mm lens, and when you're looking through the lens for quite some time and just waiting for that decisive moment, when a lion that is probably only 5-6 meters away looks straight down the barrel of the lens like that, and you see that through the viewfinder, it is an unbelievable feeling and experience. I'm getting goosebumps now just even thinking about it. The connection with nature, the fear and trepidation, I guess. It's quite remarkable and something that I hope to experience again. It was an incredible moment. hippos galore on the Chobe River. Mary absolutely fell in love with them. And somebody asked me tonight, are you going to show the picture of Mary? Mary took this fantastic photo of a hippo charging the boat, launching itself out of the water. It's here as 1.5 meter canvas in the gallery, and people absolutely love it. You know, Mary loves it. She lets all the people walk around the gallery and then ask them, "Oh, what was your favorite photo?" And they inevitably say the hippo, and so she's very chuffed with that. But she absolutely fell in love with the hippos, and we had some beautiful interactions with them. The boat would go out first thing in the morning at sunrise, beautiful light. Go out, a couple of hours before sunset again, just to getting this unique light. That was another photograph that we had in the gallery here as part of the exhibition. We've just moved it around of late, but that's a beautiful 1.5 meter acrylic. We had the most incredible encounters with elephants that would come out of the jungle, out of the forest in the late afternoon or early morning to bathe and drink and frolic. And the first day we got there, we literally arrived at the hotel, went down to the river, jumped on the boat, drove, beautifully along the river, very quiet, very serene. And the guide said to us, if we're lucky, the elephants might come out this afternoon. And within about half an hour or so, this herd of elephants came down to the water and frolicked for about an hour. And I got some brilliant footage, some great video. And it was just one of those pinch me moments. Literally, Mary and I were just crying. And we said, we could have jumped on the plane then and gone back to Australia and be satisfied with what we'd seen. It was just an unbelievable moment. This is a malachite kingfisher. This is a very common kingfisher in the African area. Think of this, the similar size to an azure kingfisher that we get here in Australia. It's probably only about that big, about 6-7 centimeters high from top to bottom. And we've got that as a beautiful square metal piece here in the gallery, about 90 by 90 centimeters. And it gets lots of great comments. Very difficult to photograph because A, they're so small, and B, they like to fly around a lot. And so the 800mm lens certainly helps with that. Many of you probably have seen this bird before. This is a lilac-crested roller, lilac-breasted roller. I think I'm getting it wrong there. It's just like this bird that's had all this paint splashed on it. It's a licorice all sort of birds, very beautiful and very common in Africa as well. Zebra galore with their young, lapwings, migration. Just this, I think, is one of the better photographs that I took of the migration. But you can literally just be driving along and then come over this hill, and then as far as the eye can see, it's like something out of a movie. There are just thousands upon thousands of wildebeest and zebra, all just eating away. Hyena. Balloon safari. We did a balloon ride over the Serengeti. That was amazing. In amongst these rocky outcrops that you see in this photograph here, we found lion just sitting up on top there, just surveying the surrounds, looking for the next meal. And then we found this pride of lions, young, were they all females? I can't remember. There was about 20 or 30 of them. That was incredible. This photograph that I used to promote tonight's presentation, this is hanging in the gallery. Actually, we stole it from our bedroom. We had it printed as soon as we got back from Africa as 1.5 meter canvas print. And actually, it's sitting right there in the window of the gallery. And we absolutely love it. And this was just one of those moments where we were desperately looking for leopard. We'd seen one in a tree just earlier, but it was too far away and there was too much rubbish around it. And then we found this one, and it had been very overcast. It's rainy season. The light just came out of the clouds just at the right moment. The leopard crossed its paw. Look at that beautiful shadow of the paw on the tree there. And it was just one of those moments that was quite incredible. Funnily enough, my guide, good luck, was trying to claim this photograph of his own, because when I was using my 800mm lens, he was using my 100 to 400mm lens, and we were kind of alternating throughout the whole safari for the 12 days. So when I showed him that I'd had this printed, he was quite cheeky, and he's like, "Are you sure that's not my photo? Are you sure I didn't take that one?" And I'm like, "No, I'm pretty sure." Anyway, that's 800mm lens. Beautiful secretary bird, one of the most unusual birds of prey that you'll ever see, related to eagles, hawks, falcons, etc. But with these incredibly long legs, it's much like a stork rather than a raptor. We had incredible moments with these young lions that were just playing around, just, sleeping, rolling over the top of each other, things like that. Flamingos galore. If I could only remember the name of this thing. It'll come to me. There'll be more of that. We have this printed and in the gallery. People love it. Big storms over the Serengeti. More flamingo in the gorgeous morning light, flying away, flying around, making lots of noise. These are lesser flamingos. More lion. We had a bit of mist in the Serengeti. That was quite beautiful. I'm a birdo from way back, so I just really enjoyed seeing all these incredible birds. This is I think it's called an African crested eagle, something like that. I know I've got it wrong. It appears that with the settings that I have, that people are not able to hear me. So when you ask a question, it's not coming through. So I've just opened the chat so I can see that, and you're probably seeing the chat there as well because I'm sharing my screen. So apologies for that. So I will pause for a minute just to answer your question. Thank you, Ian, for letting me know. Do I have the problems with the camera gear in the cold, probably relating back to the Yellowstone? No, not really. I think that's a bit of an old wives' tale. I think in the past there was problems with shutters freezing and with batteries not performing as well. I think the technology's got a lot better. Very few opportunities, or very few problems that we had in the cold. So that wasn't a problem. Linda asked, how weighty is the 800 and do I use a monopod or just handheld? The new 800mm Nikon lens is only 2.6 kilos. So it's not very heavy. It's quite long, but it's not very heavy. When you're in a safari vehicle driving around a lot, you don't really have the opportunity for a monopod and it would move a lot. So a lot of it was handheld. Yeah, and just keeping a fast shutter speed of like 1,000ths of a second or more, 1,500, 2,000ths of a second, just meant that it was very easy to handhold. Peter Ryan asked where I get my acrylics printed. That's at Brian Prints up in Brisbane, and they're excellent. In fact, we should give away a couple of gift vouchers tonight from them. Definitely do that. Vicky's answered the questions, all the questions there. Hey, thanks for that. I'll Ian, if you could even text me every time you see a question come up, that would be ideal too. I'll just sort of keep that chat to the side. I hope that's not too bad in terms of viewing. But there we go. That's an African bustard, or Corey bustard, they call it. That's a male. Remember, Vicky, Gerald would call in his tuxedo. And so, yes, he is, he's just strutting his stuff looking for a female. This is an eagle owl that I cannot pronounce the name of. More bustards, various different bustards, beautiful lion cubs, bee eaters, cubs of cheetah that we found out on the Serengeti hidden amongst this thorn bush. That was amazing. These are flamingos bathing. We had this beautiful moment. That's actually raining out on the Serengeti. Just the sun popped out just at the right moment. A rainbow, the most intense rainbow you've ever seen. And then that lion. She was heavily pregnant, I think. She's probably not the most photogenic there, but that was just an incredible moment as well. These are one of the most photogenic birds I have ever seen in my life. Somebody needs to tell me. I think they're called a crowned crane, but they're just so put together. They're quite amazing. They really are a beautiful animal, beautiful bird. I could photograph them all day, every day. They're just the beautiful feathering on the neck and the plumage on the wings, and then this beautiful fascinator they have on their heads and the red and everything else. They are just the most perfect bird I've ever seen. Another Corey bustard, this time with some young chicks that were walking around underneath their mum there. That was a very cute moment. just to show you a little behind the scenes, this is Dennis here and Vicky photographing in amongst the Gorongoro crater there, within amongst this beautiful jungle where we had the most fantastic experiences with elephants just emerging from the jungle. And yeah, that was incredible. And then we moved from the Serengeti to the north to a place called West Kilimanjaro. Very different to everything else that we'd experienced, very dry. They were in a severe drought, not a lot of animals, but an incredible experience where we stayed in this mobile safari camp for about 3 days. The safari camp is just behind the vehicles here in amongst these trees. And this was literally as we approached the camp for the first time to see these impending clouds coming towards us, which was quite amazing and very much fun for us as landscape photographers. Some quite beautiful sunsets, some dust storms, some nomad tribes walking through. This is looking towards a place called Lake Ambrosie, I think it is, where Nick Brandt, the famous African portrait animal photographer, has done a lot of his work. This is our little eagle owl doing his thing. What I got really into while I was over there was slow motion photography using my Nikon Z7 with the 800mm lens. And I'm yet to patch it all together. I've got like a 9-minute video that I just need to put some audio to that I'll post eventually on Facebook, etc. But once I'd finished taking photos, I was really keen just to capture any video I could. And these are all handheld with the 800mm lens. And that was just, I really enjoyed that. I think if I ever stopped doing still photography, I'd be doing a bit of this stuff. Yeah, for sure. You get the idea there. And this is a little bit blurred just because of the heat haze. Isabella. But the camera does its own tracking, so you don't need to focus. And this is even on a Nikon Z7, which is not the best for focusing and using for wildlife. I've since got a Z9, which would be much better in that regard. But if you can get it right and you can handhold your camera for long enough, you can get some really sexy shots, as you can see there. So that was our time in the Serengeti and in Botswana. That's a short list of the 20,000 odd photographs that we took in March. And then in April, it was 3,158 photographs. This is a combination of 2 trips that I did to Flinders Island in Tasmania. The first time I'd been there. And this was a recce for a workshop that I did in April. And I went back and did my own private photography there in August. I loved it so much. So it's just such a beautiful part of the world. This is the highest peak on Flinders Island. This is called Mount Strzelecki. Okay. An incredible spot. You can maybe see me there, right there, sitting there, flying the drone here, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to summit this mountain, which is I did a presentation the other day on Flinders Island. If you missed it, this is a very steep walk up a track that is only 4 kilometers from sort of from sea level up to, I think, 700 meters. So you climb 700 vertical meters in the space of about 4 kilometers. It took me about an hour and 45 minutes with some frequent stops along the way. But once the sun came up, just had some brilliant views, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. This is an incredible part of the world. In through here is a place called the Cloud Forest, whereby because it's so close to the ocean, the warm air off the ocean rises and cools very quickly. So a lot of the time, this mountain is actually in cloud and creates its own microclimate. And with that, you get some very wet environments and this vegetation that shouldn't be there normally, but it is because it's a very wet environment. And then that water pours off the mountain, and down the base of the mountain here, you can get some wonderful sort of rainforest almost, and rock pools, and puddles and pools, etc., etc. There's a bit of a history with the Indigenous there, a very sad history. This is a museum that sort of documents that, etc. Some wonderful coastal landscapes, Castle Rock, this place is called. We're going again there in May next year. We have one spot available if anyone would like to join us for May 2024 to go to Flinders Island. But I could spend weeks there, months there. It's a beautiful little part of the world. There's so much to photograph, so much to see. Beautiful lichen on rocks, and Sawyer's Bay, this place is called, where you have all these rocks, big boulders sitting in the water there. Great places to go droning, for example. This is up in the northern section there. One afternoon, one evening, I had this most amazing sunset with this gorgeous afterglow. This is like 20 minutes after sunset. Just incredible. Again, more rocks with lichen, storms, Tennant creeks, beautiful fore dunes with this grass, and just wonderful droning opportunities. Again, looking down on the beautiful landscape. It really is a beautiful part of the world, that's for sure. Look how clear that water is, those dolphins. Amazing. Oh, hold on. Somebody asked a question. Is that water tea color like you see in Storm? Yes, correct. Yes, Chris. Tannin, the tannins in the water leaches from the leaves and the vegetation, and it causes that water to go that tea color, much like you see at Wilson's Prom in Tidal River. I was down the Franklin River and Gordon River recently. It's the same thing. May, where did we go in May? May, 3,750 photographs. Ah, yes, Shark Bay, an aerial photography workshop. I did 2 back to back. This was following the 3 back to back that we did in October last year. One of my favorite parts of the world, one of the best places in the world to photograph aerial photography. And why do I say that? I'm biased, of course. We've had aerial photographers from the USA, from England, the UK, from Germany come out here to photograph specific aerial photographs here. They love it just like we do. That top-down drone shot looks tropical. Will it look like that in May, says Peter Ryan. Peter, of course, I've ordered the weather to be tropical, just like I had, and it will be amazing. I can't guarantee any of that. Flinders Island, I guess, just to skip back a fraction like that, can be very hit and miss, like the east coast of Tassie, right? You know, Bay of Fires, etc. When the weather is beautiful, the landscapes are amazing and they photograph really well. When the weather's rubbish, the photographs can be rubbish too. So just happen to get a beautiful morning. It's much like the Bay of Fires. You've got these beautiful white sandy beaches and crystal blue waters. So, of course, it'll be amazing. Just like that, you should come. Cape Peron, part of Shark Bay area where the red dunes meet the Indian Ocean. Incredible landscapes. This one here I have hanging just behind me here in the gallery as 1.5 meters on metal. This was the most incredible landscape. I've not seen Shark Bay look like this before. This was actually on a very, very low tide. October last year, we saw about 20 or 30 dugong just in one flight, which was incredible. This here, just the beautiful, you know, surreal patterning and the way the light was just capturing that water and the silvery sand underneath the water was quite exquisite, just absolutely incredible. This photograph, unfortunately, doesn't do it justice. For those who were in the plains with me this year and last year, you would have seen that. It was quite amazing, and I think you'd agree. Brian prints, yes, they do metal as well. They do the metal prints that you saw here in the gallery, Peter. Yeah, and I love what they do. They put a beautiful shadow box frame around it. I don't know whether you can see that behind me there. It's probably very small because I'm sharing my screen. But that one there is that same photograph that I've just showed you in my presentation. And that's 1.5 meters on metal. And it looks superb. How are we going, Vicky? Am I doing well? Is it great? Are we loving it? All right, good, good, good. It's a tough gig when I can't hear everybody, and I feel like I'm just talking to myself. But anyway, that's okay. Okay. We are still in Shark Bay. This is the most westerly point of mainland Australia. Steep Point, it's called Steep Point. We fly out here in the afternoons and fly around Steep Point here, which is glorious. All these are just four-wheel drive tracks that you can get out there. Try unmuting us all. Yeah, but then I will hear everybody's background and stuff like that, and that will be very ugly. And not great for anybody else who is wanting to watch later on. So I'm not sure why you guys aren't able to talk or why I'm not able to hear you for some reason. I can't see. All right. Okay. All right. So if you want to ask a question, I'm sorry about that. Just please feel free to just put in the chat because I am watching the chat. There you go. Paul Nichols says, I have one from the Kimberley. It's fantastic. Yes. So anyone who comes on my workshops actually gets a free metal print from Brilliant Prints. It's 90 by 60 centimeters, but you can upgrade it to a larger size, but it's something we pay for and we gift that to all of our workshop clients as a thank you for coming on the workshop. And it just also encourages people to actually print their work because we're all guilty of taking all these great photographs but not doing anything with them to appreciate them every single day. And Mary and I are big believers in printing our work, hence why we have the gallery and hence why we love selling the art, because it should be enjoyed and be on your wall to enjoy and remember of the great time you've had on our workshops. This is a place called Surf Point. Get some great surf crashing into the reef here and curling around the corner here. Again, I just love being in this part of the world and photographing this when the sun is going down over Steep Point westerly in the afternoons. This I call the jellyfish sandbank, which I love. Yes, Susan has one from Kaditanda, a beautiful print. These are some dunes called the Karanga sand dunes that I named because I couldn't find a name for them elsewhere. That's the nearest town to these dunes, town in inverted commas. But you can get some exquisite photographs over these in the late afternoon as well. That's one of my favorites from this year. This one here felt like the kangaroo on the tail of the Qantas planes. Do you know what I mean? Just had that particular look. And when we're flying and using a thousandth of a second, when the sun goes really close to the horizon, the shutter speeds still need to remain high, but then if you keep your ISO low, often your photographs are really underexposed, but that's a good thing because you can then get these beautiful shots, and you don't need to see all the detail in the shadows, as you can see here. I think it creates a really nice effect. Chris McKenzie says he must be chomping at the bit to get back to Iceland. Well, yeah, we were there in September doing an aerial photography workshop, which you'll see shortly. And yes, the latest eruption has occurred, and fingers crossed it'll still be going and we can get some brilliant photographs of that. I'm sure you'll see those in due course if we are lucky enough to get some beautiful photographs. Yeah. This one I call the red eagle because it feels like it's a head of an eagle with a big beak, something like that. This is like a lightning bolt or Z-shaped sandbar that I've not seen before. This was because it was very shallow on the times that we were there. Well, there's that shot again. Some surf from Surf Point. I found it very difficult to narrow down, the photographs here from Shark Bay. There's just so much there to photograph, including this spot that I hadn't been to before. I'd had my eye on it, but not been able to get out there. This is a place on Dirk Hartog Island with this beautiful algae-filled lake. And here's a video just showing you what that lake looks like from the air. There you go, just showing you a bit of what it's like. Are these taken with the Nikon as well, or your medium format? That's a great question, Chris. There's a mixture of both. Most of them are taken with the Nikon Z7. which is a 46 megapixel. I've not done a lot with my medium format camera aerially from the air because I just have one very wide angle lens for that medium format, which is my GFX 100S. And I did that very much on purpose because I bought that GFX specifically for shooting wide angle landscapes in similar sort of vein or line to what, Peter Broskus did many years ago. So getting very close to your foreground, having them fill up most of the frame. However, I should, and I might get a lens like a 45 to 100, something similar to that for that camera so I can use it for aerials. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that question there, Chris. Okay. Let's skip along. 63 is best. Okay, thank you, Anne. Great to see you, Anne. I didn't realize you were on the call. One of the things before we leave Shark Bay is that I was keen to get back with my 800mm lens because it literally arrived the week after I got back the last time I was there in October. So I missed out on using it. So I specifically wanted to go back with it this time around and photograph these little birds. Just to give you a little bit of backstory, I got into photography when I was about 13 years old because I was a keen bird watcher since about 9 years old. And I'd done a little bit of photography, and that's how I got into photography using, I think I had a 100 to 300mm lens to start off with. A Canon 100 to 300, and I sort of fell out of love with the bird photography after a while. Got into landscapes and sport and portraits and things like that, And more recently, I was very fortunate that somebody left me some money in their will. A very dear friend of mine who I used to go bird watching with, Doris, and I used that money to put towards that new Nikon 800mm lens. And I've very much enjoyed using it. I've loved getting back into my wildlife and bird photography in particular. I always knew that I would. It was just a matter of sort of when. I always thought just something in me just knew that I would get back to it at some stage because I missed it and I wanted to do more of it, but I just didn't have the time. But this was a great excuse. And these were a bird called a western grass wren. We're the only country in the world that has these birds called a grass wren. They're like your sort of superb blue wrens that everyone sees around the place, but they're about twice the size. And we have about 12, 15 of them here in Australia. But the thing about the grass wrens most of the time is that they're difficult to find and then difficult to photograph. But these are the most accessible and easy to photograph in the end grass wrens in probably the whole of Australia. These actually hang around the car park at Monkey Mia at the resort there where we stay for our workshop. And after the participants had gone home from the workshop, I hung around an extra day, I think it was. And the following morning got these gorgeous photographs of these wrens just walking in around. They just sort of hop around the sand and the vegetation in around the car park. And I just stalked them for a few hours and took many photographs with not much success, but I got a couple of nice ones. And literally this is full frame. So I worked out a pattern of behavior whereby they were making their way through the vegetation, but then when they got to the end of the vegetation and it sort of ran out, they would then just turn back on themselves and keep going. They don't fly often. And they got very used to me and they're very used to people, I think. And I would just sort of get ahead of them and lie down on the ground and then just sort of wait for them to come towards me. And as I said, this is with an 800mm lens. So they're literally, 3 or 4 meters away. They're not very far and sort of very close and in your frame, etc. But they do move very quickly. And there's a lot of duds. I probably took 4 or 5, probably 1,000 photos this morning, maybe more, to get this shot, or I got several good shots. This was one I was happy with. And then I drove back down to Perth from Shark Bay. I tend to do that. I like the road trip. And so I drove back via Kalbarri and saw this osprey just sitting on a tree limb about probably only about 6, 7, 8 meters up off the ground. I drove past it and then just parked the car and then just went for a walk up towards it and got very close. Yeah, thanks, Chris. That's good to know. Yeah, same behavior. Yeah, as I said, they're related. And yeah, walked towards this osprey and was feeding on this fish that had recently caught and got some brilliant shots. There's some other shots even closer than this, and I came very close to printing these for the exhibition, but not quite. June was a relatively quiet month. I was back home here in Melbourne. I don't tend to do a lot in June in terms of workshops because my daughter's birthday is on the one on the 2nd of June, another one on the 5th of June, and then mine is on the 10th of June. Yes, please take note so you can wish me and send me lots of gifts next year. I'm turning the big 50 next year. It's a big year for us. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, June is a relatively quiet year, 442 quiet month, 442 pictures. I took my son Ollie away during the school holidays and we went snow camping up at Mount, yes, all Geminis, Ian, just a nightmare, split personalities. Took him snow camping for the first time, his first time. Ian, this is why we get along so well together, because we're both Geminis. Up at Mount Buffalo. He absolutely loved it. It was fantastic snow, even though it was late June. It was a terrible season in the end, in hindsight. But there was so much snow up at Buffalo. I've never seen anything like it. This is a place called Crystal Brook Falls, where if you've been with me on BFOP this year, this is where we went for sunrise. So this is kind of what it looks like. The weather had been horrendous a few days before we got there. And then we went up and it was still overcast, cold, windy the whole week. So the snow just maintained its brilliance. Often here in Australia, and particularly with climate change, global warming, it tends to sort of snow, but then it can then melt very quickly because the sun comes out and melts away, it gets too warm, etc. But we're very fortunate that it stayed. And this is, in fact, for anyone who's been to Mount Buffalo, this is if you walk or drive to the top, the Horn, and this is the walk up to the Horn where you can walk through the rocks up the staircase to the very top. This is just caked in snow. I'd never seen so much ice and snow at this part of the world before, and I've been there a few times. This is Ollie walking through that area. This is the reverse shot. So this shot here that I'm taking is taken up the top of this staircase here. We're looking the other way. Was absolutely amazing. It was freezing cold, and we were fortunate that no one else had been up there. So we were making first tracks on a lot of the walks we did. We did a lot of exploring. This was one of my favorite shots heading up to the Horn. And this is just a creek, that meandering through the plateau. And I really enjoyed the composition of this one here. This is taken with the GFX. The medium format, 100 megapixels. This was an image that we chose to put into the exhibition as well, and then we had this on canvas. So let me just text Maddie. Still good for 8:30. Right, and we did some walks in parts that I'd not actually been to before, and I was being very selective about my photography, but this was a huge boulder. This would probably have been 4 or 5 meters high. And I really enjoyed that as a black and white. It was a very cold, windy, overcast day. Not a lot in terms of definition in the landscape, etc. We probably did about a 2-3 hour snow walk, snowshoeing, which was quite amazing to do. Didn't see anybody else the whole time. I wanted to actually print this for the exhibition. I loved this photograph because I just wow, I never knew this existed on the Buffalo Plateau. This is a rock that's probably about 3 or 4 meters in diameter, sitting on top of this other rock. And I was like, right, okay, I think I want something in the foreground to frame it. And I put this puddle in the foreground. And I showed this to Mary and said, I'd love to print this for the exhibition. And she said, no, that looks too much like the shape of a penis. And so it didn't end up being part of the exhibition. This is just a little behind the scenes video that I did for my good friend Matt Crummins, who I did the walk shortly after this. And this was part of the training for that walk. Anyway, I'm talking there. Matt, I don't know whether you got to see that. I might play that again. This is a little video I did to you. I don't know that I sent this to you. Anyway, there you go. So we did a little bit more exploring there. This is which ones? Rolson's Falls. I've not been there before. This is on the way up to the summit of Buffalo. So that was good fun. And then we finally had got to see the sun. This was after probably 4 days of being up there. We'd gone up to the hump or the cathedral area the night before or the day before to suss it out. I'd never seen so much snow in all my life. It took us, I think it took us over an hour, 20 minutes, something like that, to get to this spot. And for those who have been there, you'll know it's where I've taken beef hoppers in the past. It's where you sort of get up past the cathedral and you stand in the sort of saddle there and look back at the cradle. I'll show you in a second. This was an amazing sunrise that we had. G'day, Maddie. Great to have you on. The color is just true to life. That's exactly what it looks like. Here's a shot looking back towards the cathedral, one of my favorite spots in Victoria to photograph. And in fact, one of my favorite photographs ever is taken from here in the sunset from the other side. But I'd never got a good sunrise pic. So I was really happy to get there for a nice sunrise with brilliant snow. And yes, this is taken in winter, Maddie. This is the end of June. Ignore Matthew. He may begin to heckle throughout this whole presentation. So we'll see how we go. Maddie, I think we're about 5 or 10 minutes off you joining us here, or at least contributing. This is July, 3,433 pictures. We went to New Zealand to run a workshop there. We hadn't been there for a few years. We hadn't been there since COVID, in fact. And we did our traditional 8-day workshop around the South Island, where we land in Christchurch, go down to the Meraki boulders, explore that sort of southeast area, the Caitlin's area with beautiful waterfalls, lighthouses, etc. And then we make our way up to the Queenstown area, up to Mount Cook, and then across to the west coast to then go up through Franz Josef, Fox Glacier, Arthur's Pass, and then back to Christchurch. It's a very busy workshop. We get to see and do lots, drive 2,400 kilometres in about 8 days. So it's quite busy. We're on the road covering a lot of ground, but it's very good fun. And one of the things that we love doing when we're there, if we ever get the opportunity, and the weather's kind to us, is to jump up in a helicopter. And the weather wasn't looking good for the whole week. But then the sun came out at the right time, and Mary, all the way from Melbourne, got on the phone to various helicopter companies in Queenstown, and at the last minute, literally within 2 hours, organised 2 Squirrel helicopters to take us up, of course, and get these beautiful photographs. And then we just had a most amazing time. It was about an hour's flight. We flew with these pilots, or one pilot in particular, who had done a lot of videography work with Mission Impossible when Tom Cruise was there filming a few years back. He'd done the Lord of the Rings. This is sunset. This was sunset here, Robin. I've not done sunrise over the Alps. I'm sure it would be just as good. But it was incredible, and it was an amazing experience. This is a photograph that we have in the window of the gallery at the moment, 1.5 meters on a canvas. The light was incredible. The layering, I love. I've done this flight 2 or 3 times now, and it's just frigging amazing. It's not out of focus. Thank you, Ian Glue. Good on you. Oh my God, he started the heckling on the chat. Yeah, I just love this part of the world. It's just incredible. And this guy, I wish I could remember his name. He really knew how to fly helicopters. He was incredible. He had us going sideways, and just sort of going up the side of this mountain. And and we had the doors off, and so the participants could literally feel like they could reach out and touch this this mountain. Oh no, this is all shot on film, Maddie. I'm you know me, I'm a traditionalist through and through. A little bit of helicopter action, a little bit of helicopter to helicopter action here with the video. Starting to hear my audio now on my computer. I think it was fiddling around with my AirPods. So maybe Vicky, you might want to try talking to me and just see if I can hear you. But we had, oh, you there, Vicky?
Yep.
I can hear you. Great. Yeah. Sorry, my AirPods was frigging around with my computer. So I will be able to hear people if they want to ask questions now. I'll keep an eye on the chat though. The Vicky will remember this flight well, won't she, darling?
Oh, yes.
It was an amazing experience, wasn't it? You got some amazing photographs.
I did.
However,
there is a phone somewhere up on Mount, whatever it's called.
Mount Aspiring.
Yes.
If anyone finds an iPhone 12 plus up on the slopes of Mount Aspiring, it belongs to Vicky Cleghorn, so please return it. She'd be most grateful. Poor Vicky got to the end of the flight and landed back in Queenstown and just went, "Hold on, where's my phone?" And then we searched the helicopter through and through, and we couldn't find it. And Paul Nichols asked us, "There's a reward if anyone finds it." Thankfully, you had it backing up to the cloud, didn't you? So you only lost like 24 hours, or the latest sort of last 24 hours of photos.
Yeah, right up until just before we went.
Right. Yeah, such a shame. But nonetheless, well done you for doing the right thing with having it all backed up. But yes, unfortunately, Vicky remembers that flight for the wrong reasons rather than the right reasons. And one of the things was just that air-to-air combat sort of flying that they did, and they just said, we'll just hang here until we, the light pops or the right light, etc. They were so accommodating. Glacial helicopters, I think they're called. Yep. Out of Queenstown. I would not fly with anybody else. These guys were so kind to us. It was brilliant. This was a little controversial, this photograph here. Controversial, why? Because I was stuffing around with my Fuji camera that I'd not used a lot. And when you get a new camera or a new piece of equipment, you tend to sort of think that everything you point the camera towards turns to gold. Well, I found this tree that I didn't think much of until I walked closer and started playing around with the wide angle lens and getting what I thought was going to be quite nice photos, both in color or black and white. And then I popped them up online, and I was confused because I actually showed the participants on the workshop the compositions that I was getting, being close and wide, etc. And they're going, "Yeah, I don't see what you're seeing. You're on drugs, Tom. I really don't know what you're talking about." And you see, even Maddie Crumlins is telling me that's rubbish. So maybe it is. Anyway, some more lovely shots from our New Zealand workshop, including some. I love the West Coast. The West Coast is really, I think, underrated. It can be horrendous weather. I've been there where it's just rained 200 mil in 24 hours. But the last 2 times I've been there, we've had brilliant weather on the West Coast. We've really done well for winter. And had beautiful sunshine, still days. You've got these black sand beaches covered in all of these incredible logs that have been washed down the rivers, etc. So it's quite amazing. August, leaving New Zealand, and in August, 2,899 pictures. We did 3 trips in August. First one was to the Tarkine. We ran a workshop there for the first time. The Tarkine being the sort of northwest of Tassie, punctuated by incredible wild coastline and then stunning rainforest. This here, the Tarkine sort of edge of the world area where these photos are taken, is very well known for these logs. Again, much like the west coast of New Zealand, but these logs that have fallen down through the Arthur River, which is around this area, floated down the river into the ocean and then been pushed back onto the shore. So you get these big wrecks and big piles of logs that are there. The other feature is the rocks itself. And this is a photograph that we chose to include again in the exhibition this time round. And this is called Sarah Ann Rocks. And this is just a gorgeous little spot. Peter Dombrovskis has done work here, Chris Bell, Rob Blakers, Paul Holan, Luke Sharkey, you name it. They've all been there, and this is Cam Blake. All the greats have been there to take photos in this area. And again, we had pretty rubbish weather, but right at the last minute, the sun popped out. It was golden. It was a magnificent, and we were right place, right time. So this is a beautiful big 1.5 meter acrylic in our gallery at the moment. As I said, beautiful rainforest as well to explore. It is a stunning area. This is a sinkhole. Some gorgeous walks you can do through the Tarkine. And then we drove south to the Pieman River and stayed at the Carina Wilderness Lodge or Valley or Village, they call it down there. And again, this was a nice shot here of it rained overnight. So there's all this beautiful water droplets hanging in this tree over the river there, and this is just backlit, looking up at the tree canopy, etc. Beautiful reflections. Can't wait to go back and photograph more of this area. It really is incredible. And of course, Matthew Crummins, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you might want to chime in here, because at the end of August, Maddie and I did a very stupid thing. We'd had months in the planning. We said, why don't we go and do something together? Why don't we go for a walk? And can you hear me, Matt? Are you able to chime in?
Yeah, I'm just surprised you're including this, given your amount of photos you took during this session.
Speak up a bit, mate. We can't hear you all that well. Or come closer.
Oh, really?
Whatever. Yeah, it's true. I think I pulled my camera out about twice, didn't I?
You did. And I think one of them was a selfie.
Lots of selfies. Yeah, we did a stupid walk. I think this was the beginning of the end for me. For those who don't know, I've suffered from what you call adrenal fatigue for about the past 3 months, and I'm on the road to recovery. Thanks for asking. But in the meantime, very, very much lacking energy and enthusiasm. And I think this walk didn't help at all, because we walked from Mount Hotham to Mount Bogong over the course of what was supposed to be 4 days, but we did it in 3 nights instead of 4 nights. And this was our first night camp, about 4 hours or so, 5 hours from where we parked or got dropped off, remember? Our good friend Charlie Brown dropped us off at Hotham that afternoon, and we walked to this spot here on the opposite valley to Hotham there. And you, in fact, Maddie, chose this beautiful little campsite.
I was strategic. If you go out of the tent the wrong way, you fall off the cliff. And so I sort of figured that, if you got super windy in the middle of the night, you could always coax you out to the other entrance and would finish the walk in peace.
I wasn't too whiny, was I, on that trip?
You were pretty good. Up until the last day, you were pretty good.
Oh, hold on. The last day, I was good.
Not the last day, the second last day.
The second last day. It's interesting, Matt, and for everybody else out there watching, if you do any sort of like multi-day walking, particularly if it's quite strenuous or challenging, shall we say, you can go through various different moods. And there was a day, day 2, the day after this, I had a pretty good day, especially towards the end. You got a little bit grumpy and tired. The following day, I think...
Let's not turn it around. It was what it was. And
come on.
You were a bit grumpy.
I remember Maddie saying, let's scroll through a few photographs at the time, but here's Maddie doing his thing. This is the Bogong High Plains. This is much of what we saw that day, didn't we? Here we are carrying 20 odd kilos on our back, tents, food. Matt was carrying I think, a whole pantry on his back because he decided that he didn't want to run out of food. I think you ended up bringing about half of it home. But we carried everything. That's brilliant sunrise over Mount Feathertop there and Razorback Ridge, for those who don't know. That was the sunset that we got to on day 2, remember? This was the part where Matt said that if I'd walked any further, he was ready to just spit the dummy and not walk any further. But we literally started at 8:30 in the morning, I think it was, that morning, and we didn't finish till sunset, which would have been about 6 o'clock. It was a long day, wasn't it?
Brutal. And it wasn't just a long day. It was like, we didn't even go that far. You know, if you've got a long day and you go a really long way, that's fine. But this was just slow.
I think you'll find that we walked 25 kilometers that day. And that's
for
a
whole
lot
day,
to be doing in the snow.
like a lot. You know?
Do you remember we got to that aqueduct past Falls Creek, and we were looking at the map and we're going, oh, I think we've got about another 5K to go.
Yeah.
And it was about 3:30 in the afternoon and we were already spent. And it was like, if we could have just pitched a tent right there and then, couldn't we?
We couldn't actually talk, because pitching a tent would require all the parts to a tent.
Oh, no.
Which, you know, I guess it's a small detail when you think about it, but you know.
For those who don't know, after this evening, this particular night, we packed up the tent the following day. We were in a very good routine. We'd get up, we'd cook some brekkie, we'd then, you know, pack up our own gear, pack up the tent, head off about 8:30, 9 o'clock every morning, knowing that we had big days ahead of us. And I don't know how you do this, but I always check a camp before you leave. You have a look around. Yeah, no, haven't left anything. Great, let's go. We got to the camp at the end of the day and realized that we didn't have one of the vital snow poles to go into the tent. And it was a bit of a faux pas. And we were like, we couldn't have left it behind, possibly, you know, and yep, sure enough, we had. So when we got home, we actually posted on various Facebook groups as to, and I'd actually, the funny thing was that every night I sort of have an agreement with Mary to send her my location. It can either be via a satellite device or it's via mobile phone. And I had mobile phone coverage. I pinged my location via WhatsApp to Mary, so she knew exactly where we were, said everything was great. And when we got home and realized we'd left the tent pole behind, we put it onto Facebook groups, and we actually showed them on a map the exact coordinates, like GPS of where we'd left this snow pole behind. And we had somebody comment and say, yeah, I think my mate picked that up. Let me find out. And he messaged me and he goes, yeah, we picked that up. Yeah, no problems. Would you like to come and collect it? And we're like, oh my God, we can't believe that you found it, because it was literally right next to the sort of the track or the snow poles. And ironically, he lives like literally, you know, 10 minutes from where my kids live up in Hampton there. So we went and collected it from him the following day. Matt on the group has put a really nice has put a photo there of us at that camp, that infamous camp where we left the pole behind. But we did get a few quite nice photos. The snow wasn't the best. We had a crap season, but we decided, well, Matt convinced me that we should just go otherwise. And this was some of the views we got. This was the last day coming off Mount Bogong and that beautiful classic sort of Victorian high country view that you can get across the landscape here. And this is Matt and I enjoying our trip across the plateau of Mount Bogong. Where we literally thought we were going to get blown off the mountain at various stages. That was quite hairy, wasn't it, Matt? We thought we might have had to have bunkered down for an extra night, but alas.
You'll note who's winning in this video as well.
Yes. We had various moments where we shared the load, so to speak, didn't we?
Yeah, you did have a one last sort of push at the end where you just went gangbusters. and yeah, on the way down the mountain and
I can't remember that. I can't remember that so much. I was pretty spent by then, but
I reckon you could smell the Palmer at the pub.
we did. You know, like when you'd think we would have been out in the wilderness for months, honestly, and not seen anyone for years. But we said, right, Matt was so desperate for a decent meal rather than dehydrated stuff. We stopped off at Euroa. We stopped off at Euroa and we had the most fantastic meal, beer, Palmer, etc. And then you proceeded to throw your guts up for the next 3 days, I think, Matt, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I lost about 4 kilos from the time we left until I finished throwing up. Yeah.
Yeah. Linda is asking, how tall are those poles? Yes, those are for navigation. And there wasn't much snow at that point. There was probably only a foot or two of snow. So those poles would be at least 2 meters tall, wouldn't they?
Well, I just posted in the group, you next to a pole, looking like a bit of a pole. So
okay. Well, there you go. Yes, there you go. I'm standing next to the pole in the chat there. That's at that's ironically only probably an hour or two after that video of you that I just showed.
Yeah. The poles hadn't had any time to change height.
No. But the thing about this landscape in a minute, to be serious for a minute, we were actually, remember, Matt, we were on a real deadline to get out of there, not only because I had commitments and you had commitments back home, but the impending weather forecast was horrible, wasn't it?
It wasn't great. I think we were both that last night whilst we were looking at, you know, in our tent with one pole, freezing our butts off and realizing that the guys next to us in the little ski hut had like espresso martini.
What did they cook? What did they cook? Lamb shanks or something ridiculous?
They had a slow cook pulled pork rolls, which was delicious smelling, which they didn't offer to us at all. And even
they didn't. They were very cagey about that. They offered us a bit of wine, but not their slow cooked pork. They were very protective of that.
Yeah, but look, that's probably a good thing. I don't think either of us needed the pulled pork, to be honest. We were really well sustained with packet pouches of protein and stuff like that. So, yeah, don't regret a minute.
It was good fun. And in fact, we have scheduled another trip for 2024, haven't we? We
talked about another trip for 2024.
We have had enough time between this last trip and now to actually Matt, thanks for posting that one too. I didn't dig that one out, but
that's probably because you didn't take any photos, Tom. But
that's true. Matt was very enthusiastic. I was not so much. I was very grumpy. I think that was, as I said, that was the beginning of the end for me with me not feeling great and my health declining, and I didn't realize at the time, but I was not probably in a good space. But thanks for dragging me through that.
I'll make sure I don't post any of my good ones. I don't want to show you up, but these are just some of the behind the scenes.
We would love to see your good ones another time. That would be fabulous.
I'm sure if you watch the awards, the award circuit, you'll probably come across.
Please, that would be amazing. In fact, did we do a presentation on that little trip or not?
No, I think since then we've both been trying to suppress the memory of anything else, and
True.
I think it's probably so far in that too many details have been completely suppressed. So we've got the podcast. We kind of presented. We did the podcast, 3-part episode.
We did.
We recorded in the tent at night, reflecting on our feelings of, survival. Yeah.
We did. So for those who perhaps haven't heard that, there is a 3-part series from our trip where as Maddie said, we did do a podcast every night. So jump onto Podbean and look for Matt and Tom's excellent podcast there, and you'll be able to listen to that afterwards. Thanks, Maddie, for joining me. I will say that just as a little tease, yes, we have got a trip planned for 2024, and it does include doing something just as stupid as what we did this year. So
I reckon it's dumber than this year. I reckon it's dumber.
And I think talking to a certain person the other night, he might want to join us there too. Is that right?
Well, I spoke to that person this week, and they said that the next day was so rough that they couldn't drive their car for the entire day. So I'm not sure how much of what they said was going to be remembered, but I'm sure we could hold them to it anyway.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, thanks, Maddie. You're more than welcome to stay on the rest of the.
I've got a bottle of wine and a couch that desperately need my attention after today.
Please do that. But I really appreciate your time. It was great to have you on as a guest for the presentation this evening.
I feel privileged.
Thanks,
Hey,
Matty, for sharing.
enjoy it. If everyone's going on a trip next year, have a wicked one, and we'll see you around the traps.
Thanks, Matty. See you, mate. After our trip there,
Sorry, Tom, just quickly, you actually look very good there.
this one.
Yeah.
I know I'm wearing a t-shirt that's 3 sizes too small for me. It makes me look really buff.
These are the shorts, but anyway,
yeah, the shorts are a bit middle-aged. So after that in August, not long after Maddie and I finished our little trip, I went to South Australia to be a guest on the Southern Ocean Walk. Now, I won this as part of the Great Walks magazine, winning prize this year. Had an aerial shot of the bungalows that did very well, and the winning prize was 4 days on this walk that goes from Cape Jervis, which is right near Kangaroo Island, to another spot. I can't remember where it ends. But you walk along the Hyacinth Trail, which goes all the way from Cape Jervis up to Flinders Ranges. Anyway, the guests there, the guys who run it, friggin' hell, I wish I could remember their names. It should hopefully come to me. Barry and Jane. I hope it's Barry and Jane. They very much looked after me and our guests, or the guests, and we did this beautiful 4-day walk. Here's a little bit of what goes on. There's Barry there at the back, and these are some of the stunning views you get along the way. It really is glorious. A bit of beach walking, some beautiful walking along the coastline here. The weather was pretty kind to us. Got some very nice shots looking in and around these beautiful little beaches and coves. I was carrying I think a wide angle as well as my 100 to 400, and just didn't take a hell of a lot of shots, but got some pretty nice wildlife shots and etc. etc. What I did frigging love about this walk, end of August it was into September, was the amount of wildflowers that were out. It was the countryside was just covered, and a lot of this walking through beautiful gums, grass, trees, etc. etc. Here's an example of a few of the photos I took. I must have had a 24 to 120 as well, because that's what these macros are taken with. If you're into your macro and into your flora shots, Nicole Fairweather, for example, it was the place to be. There was wildflowers just absolutely everywhere, bees everywhere. The whole place was just humming, pardon the pun. So it was absolutely incredible for that sort of stuff. Beautiful. Few little waterfalls. This is a distinctive one along the trail. I wish I could remember it. These are all handheld. I didn't take a tripod with me, 1/4 of a second at sort of f/16 type of thing along this particular area. And then surrounding that area, in amongst the Deep Creek National Park, or conservation area it's called, is this beautiful forest and grass trees, etc., that I went walking through one morning to get these shots. Again, just practicing with my wide angle lens, these types of photos. Alrighty, so after that busy August, it was rolling into September, and in the Hyacinth Trail. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. I tell you what, with this fatigue, I'm losing my memory, losing it altogether. September was a busy month, 5,875 photographs, because we went to the Faroe Islands and Iceland. Now, this was a legacy of COVID. We were supposed to do this workshop back in May 2020. And of course, March 2020 meant that COVID came along. So literally we had all these flights and plans booked, and it sort of skittled us about 8 weeks before we were supposed to leave, unfortunately. No puffins, unfortunately, Chris. The times that we go for our workshops are really poorly timed on my behalf. We've gone in May, and we've missed out on seeing the puffins because the weather was too rough to go to an island to visit them. And then we've been now in September, and by September they've already left for their time out at sea. So unfortunately, no puffins. Still yet to see puffins. Yeah, they've disappeared already and gone out to sea. They've finished breeding, and they go and they spend literally the rest of the year out on the sea. So the Faroes, it was amazing to get back there. Mary and I had such a great experience, as did the other workshop participants, when we went there back in May 2018. So it had been over 5 years since we'd been there. Couldn't wait to get back. Still amazing as always. We got to do some new things. This is some drone work that I did around a place called Sudaroy. there's so many good droning. I'd go there for a month and just drone. It's friggin' fantastic. As I said, we incorporated some new activities into the workshop this time around, which included various walks onto private areas, private land with local guides, which we loved. We did various boat tours. A feature of the Faroe Islands is just these incredible sea cliffs that stretch up 200 or 300 meters high, sea stacks, etc., etc. So we did this. We did 3 or 4 amazing boat trips, which were incredible, and then this incredible walk out to Kalua. I think so. Maybe I need a Kalua. This spot here. This was actually where one of the James Bond's films was filmed a few years back. There's birds buzzing my drone here. There's rain trying to rain on it. This is an incredible landscape, as you can see. When you stand on that area there, I can't go out to where Mary is. It's a very narrow pathway, and I just fear falling off. But when you stand even on the edge of the cliff, you look down, you just can't imagine how tall these places are, let alone being up the top here. It is quite incredible. It's a magnificent place. I can't wait to go back. We're going back in September next year. We still have a place available if you'd like to come along to the Faroe Islands in September next year, or we're going in May 2025 as well. So I'd go there every day of the bloody week. It's such an incredible part of the world. And yeah, the droning and the views and everything else are absolutely fantastic. In fact, Vicky loved it so much that she came with us just only in September, and she's coming again next September. She loved it that much. You know, I think you'd agree, Vicky. It's just
absolutely magical.
Beautiful part of the
Really
world.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that drone footage you've got of Mary, it really doesn't show the steepness and the ruggedness of where she got to for you to do that drone, because none of us were game enough to go out where she was.
Yeah, exactly right. She did that last time we were there too. And I think I took some drone footage, but actually stuffed up the download and lost all that footage, unfortunately. But yeah. What drone am I using? I am using, Chris, I upgraded just before I left. I was chatting with a friend of mine, David Bettini, over in WA. And he's like, how come you haven't got the latest drone? And I'm like, oh, I don't think I need to, the price, etc. And he goes, oh man, you've got to get it. So I splashed out and I sold my my Mavic 2 Pro that I'd had for about 5 years. It had done so much good work with me. It shot one of my books, pretty much all of half of one of the Mornington Peninsula book that I published a few years ago. It had been with me anywhere and everywhere. I crashed it on Lake Eyre. You can see that video on Facebook, or maybe not. I think I deleted it. And it really owed me nothing. And I really then thought, well, I'm due for an upgrade. So I'm using the Mavic 3 Pro to answer your question. And yes, Anne and Vicky, can't wait to have you guys to Faroe Islands in 2024. God, what time did we get up to go to that church? Did you come with me, Vic? You did.
Yeah, it was. Well, I think we left at 4 a.m. something like
4
that.
a.m. to get to this spot, which was about an hour and a half from where we were staying. And in the end, I was like, you've got to come to this church. It's great. It looks great at sunrise. You can get, if it's moody, and you can get the lights shining on them, and all the lights were on the other side of the church, but not on this side. It was a real pain, and it was horrible weather that morning. It was pissing out with rain. It was not much fun. But that was sort of Faroe Islands for you in general, wasn't it? It was raining a lot. But that's what it does there. Incredible churches. Hopefully we'll get more chance to see more churches this time around, in the insides in particular. Vicky, that was geo of the morning that everyone stayed in bed, and I said I'm going to get up early and go for a sunrise walk up to the top of that mountain there. So that was the shot from above. I don't know whether I showed you that one.
No, I didn't.
This is Mykins. This is one of the outer islands that a lot of the puffins breed on. Little rainbow. This is a waterfall. This is quite a famous spot on Faroes where there's this huge lake that pours out into the ocean. And this was blowing so hard that I was sitting down for all of these photos. And this waterfall was just literally trying to go vertical. From Faroes, we went to Iceland, three of us, and did an aerial photography workshop. Again, something that had been in the planning for a very, very long time. And we then spent a week in the sort of 5 hours sort of west of Reykjavik, the capital, towards the ice lagoon and the ice beach, in order to catch local aeroplanes, local Cessnas, to do some aerial work. We had a week there. We flew 3 times, a total of 6 hours in total. Got some great photos that I'll show you in a minute. But in the meantime, whilst the weather wasn't so good, or we were, up at sunrise to take photos, we nicked off to the Black Ice Beach. And this ice was huge. This iceberg here was probably 2 to 3 meters wide, for example, and about 1.5 meters tall. It was huge. Do you get up in the air to take some brilliant photographs of the braided rivers? Of course, you may have seen similar sort of shots to these. It seems that everybody's been there to photograph them. We had this printed for the exhibition, 1.5 meter acrylic. It looked amazing. Since sold. Went to a home just nearby up in Carrum Downs. Yeah. You could just spend hours and hours over this landscape. Glaciers, looking down on these sort of glaciers with these various shots here. Yeah, it was incredible. And then we were fortunate enough to fly up into the Highlands for two 2-hour flights, which was a real feature, which we really wanted to do, of course, because that's where you can get these beautiful colors, black sand, moss covered landscapes, dormant volcanoes. This is an interesting photo. This red is quite real. I've enhanced it a bit, but this is, I called the feathered volcano, because I love this sort of feathering of the cap here on this landscape. Quite amazing. This I've actually had printed. It's sitting in a box out the back of the gallery here. I'm still yet to see it. I've not taken it out of the box yet, but I can't wait to actually see it. This really unusual color in the landscape here, for example, geothermal galore. You've probably seen similar shots to these. You have to see it to believe it. It's quite incredible the way this moss grows on this volcanic sand. Quite amazing. And one of the features that really surprised me and was a real feature, and was the autumn colors that you can get in Iceland. I never knew this existed, but we just timed it to perfection to see this Vegas, like a Vegas that turns, this Arctic beach that turns yellow and orange that time of year. The red, this is a drone shot, just looking down on the landscape. The red here are blueberries, wild blueberries that glow along the landscape here. This is them here. And in fact, you can see it. See, they're the blueberries sitting here. And if you weren't told, you probably would miss them altogether. They just sort of hide underneath these low bushes that grow very close to the ground on the moss and everything else. And Nicole, who was with us on the workshop, is a very good and very keen macro photographer. She was often seen sort of down on her belly, photographing these blueberries, and in fact pointing them out to us. And then we spent the rest of the workshop eating all of these wild blueberries that were literally everywhere. It was quite incredible. But this was a real feature of our time. So not only did we have our time in the air, but when we couldn't fly for weather conditions, or it was too early in the morning, too late in the afternoon, we would go off and photograph these areas, droning through here, for example, one of these canyons that was quite close to our accommodation, going for walks and photographing all of the incredible variety of autumn colors. I never knew seals existed in the ice lagoon there, right near the ice beach, but there were various seals doing their things. And then these are some incredible drone shots that I got along the way whilst we were sort of waiting for everything to happen. So Iceland was incredible. Can't wait to go back next month and see it again in the wintertime, photograph the Northern Lights. So I'm heading off there on the December 31st to go to Iceland and Norway for about 3 weeks. So I can't wait. October 4,793. Why October so busy? Let me see. I think because a lot of it was photographing these beautiful birds, Major Mitchell cockatoos. A good friend of mine, Dr. Victor Hurley, has been doing a longitudinal study of Major Mitchell cockatoos up in the Mallee area. I won't say exactly where, because of just wanting to protect these nesting sites from various naughty people. So these Major Mitchell cockatoos or pink cockatoos are endangered, in fact, very vulnerable here in Victoria, mainly because the trees they nest in take about 100 years to get to the point where they're large enough and they have a hollow that's suitable for them to nest in. And so, Vic is doing some great work surveying them every year. He donates his time. He takes long service leave from his job to spend about 4 weeks in the Mallee there, surveying the nesting hollows, seeing which ones are being used by the cockatoos, others being used by kestrels, nesting, roosting owls. Sometimes bees take over the hollows, so they have to clear the hollows out outside of the nesting season in order to make them suitable for the cockatoos. But the major threat to the cockatoos has been the clearing of the land. 97.5% of their suitable habitat has been cleared here in Victoria. And so there's very few hollows left for them to breed, unfortunately, but Vic is doing great work in order to protect them, protect those hollows, working with the rangers and the various land owners in order to ensure that they understand what trees need to be preserved in order for these cockatoos to have any chance of survival. So I spent about a week up there with Vic, just doing nothing else other than volunteering my time as well, helping him out with the scientific studies. It was great fun, and I loved spending time with these birds. It was a privilege, I should say. And I've known Vic for about 30 years, ever since my bird watching days. So it was lovely to spend time with him and photograph a few other birds. Regent parrots, for example. This was the first time I'd seen regent parrots in this, first time ever. So it was lovely to photograph them. Let me see. Yes, correct, Robin Moon. Yes, that's when you saw me driving back the other way. Correct, I was coming home from my trip up the Mallee with Vic at the time you saw me. Yeah, all taken with the 800mm Nikon lens. This was a Nanking kestrel that flew by, and look what it's got in its claws. And I didn't notice until after. It's caught itself a little mouse and it's taking it home for the youngsters. Yeah, striped honeyeaters in the Mallee there. And my absolute favorite bird that ever since I've had this long lens, I've been desperate to photograph. And this is a splendid wren, a male splendid wren. Again, a lot like the size of a superb blue wren. This is uncropped. So I just waited very patiently. I walked through the Mallee, found them in this sort of clearing area, and stalked them for about an hour before I got this photograph of the male there. But I absolutely love this, and I can't wait to get it printed. I hope this will be part of the exhibition next year. November, let me see. Is Cam Blake on the call by any chance? Is he
Maybe.
Oh, he is. Oh my God. Thanks, Cam, for he's our other guest for this evening. And thanks, Cam, for donating your time. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Cam Blake. You are featuring now because, of course, in November of this year, only last month.
Am I Mr. November?
You are Mr. And here he is right here.
I could have told you that picture was going to come up.
Baby.
Hey. That was a slippery log, that one.
A very slippery log, hence why you're crawling along it. The whole place is bloody slippery. And what have
sure
you.
Is. Yes.
But look, we're going to take a brief look down the Franklin River to show you the photographs, some of the photographs we took on our 8-day voyage. We wrote not quite the same as, Fair Star, the Fun Ship, or Virgin.
No, certainly
quite
isn't.
as luxurious. And perhaps a little bit more treacherous, I should say. Of course, Franklin River, famous for the Rock Island Bend. Here's a sort of a quick video we did as we were sort of kayaking or rafting through that area with the sun out. We did have the sun out a couple of times, didn't we?
It wasn't. It was way better than the year before weather-wise, wasn't it?
I might just come back to those videos, but it's a magnificent part of the world. For those who didn't see the presentation that we did the other night, it's incredible. You know, it's one of those rare places where you can go and not see anybody for the whole time you're on the river. You don't see anybody, you don't have contact with the outside world. Mobile phones don't work down there, and it's one of the only places in Australia where you can do a multi-day rafting adventure, and it's obviously so historically significant.
Is this when we were doing all the paddling that you were taking all these photos?
That's it. There's various, you know, intimate, beautiful shots you can take of wildflowers and vegetation, etc. But equally so, gorgeous photographs that you can get from the raft, as Cam's alluded to, as well as on the ground. This is a place called the Erebus, where you get these beautiful, you know, foam patterns in the water, rock patterns, stuff like that. It's just bloody incredible.
Are you going to print that one? That one's cool.
Yeah, I think this will be part of the exhibition next year as well. This on acrylic, I think, more than anything.
There's so many little things that, like, there's dinosaurs, there's keys. I can see all these different things in all the patterns.
Oh, yeah, right.
Cool.
Okay. There's a particular name for that. Somebody will probably pop it in the chat.
Right.
There's a name. I won't call it a condition because it's not anything that to be ashamed of, but there's a name for people who can see shapes and patterns in the landscape. Like, you know, how people see a cloud and they go, oh my God, it's dragon and stuff like that. There we go. Rob Moon put it in there. Thank you. I knew somebody to know. Pareidolia.
Right.
I think that's how you pronounce it. But if people want to Google that, they'll find the definition. And the definition, the rough definition, is that people can see objects or relate to things in the landscape, see them as dinosaurs, you know, crocodiles, just as you described there. And some people are better at it than others. I have no clue, but I've had people here in the gallery talk to me for an hour or two about a photo that has all of these different, you know, people and stuff in it. Yeah, quite incredible. There you go. The Franklin River, it's a magnificent area. I would say, Cam, it's probably not the easiest place to take photos, is it?
It's certainly a challenge. Like, it's not, you know, like you just had Iceland up there before, where you can sort of walk and drive to most places. Like the Franklin River, it's effort. It's really reward for your effort. So each day it's not, I wouldn't say it's physically hard paddling all day. It's fairly straightforward. But it's when you get to the camps, you set up camp, you're pretty knackered by the end of the day. You sort of walk around camp and you got to sort of try and find these compositions that you want. And for people that are going down that are new, for us, we've been down a couple of times now, obviously, but for newbies, the first couple of days, you notice them they sort of sit there with a bit of a daze going, oh, where do I look? Where do I shoot? And then once you get your Franklin River eye in, you can sort of find all these beautiful abstract or shots like that. I love that shot. I missed that shot. I was so dirty that I missed that shot, because I reckon that's one of the nicest shots I've seen from up the Gordon River. And that boat's just so cool. It's got so much character.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
We're doing a print. Weren't we doing a print swap? Weren't we?
Of course, mate. Of course.
Yeah.
I think I said the other night on the presentation that it doesn't feel Australian, that photo. It feels North American or Canadian.
Yeah.
It just feels quintessential, that, with the vibe. I'm not sure. It's probably the era of that boat, for example. But
yeah, one thing I've noticed about the Franklin River, especially, it's got a really sort of bluey, greeny feel to it. Like everything's really blue-green, like this shot.
Yeah.
It's a real cool temperate color, which obviously that's what it is. It's cool temperate rainforest, but it's something I haven't seen anywhere else where I've traveled, is that real sort of blue feel to the forest. Everything's usually green or yellowy or red or orangey. Right. Where this is a real cool color temperature, which I think is quite unique to Tassie. But yeah, that was a cool shot. And the good thing about that shot is you're on your way home, you're relaxed and you're chilling out. You can sit on a proper toilet.
You're warm.
You're warm. Yeah,
warm and dry.
Warm and dry, and you're not going down a grade 5 rapid thinking about the end of your life and stuff like that.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Cam has run many workshops down the Franklin River. He's been down the Franklin about 10 times now, I think, Cam.
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
And knows the river very well, and has for many years run workshops down there. And for the last couple of years, I've tagged along and taken a few clients down there as well. And we just did it, as you've seen last month, was my second time. It's an incredible part of the world. It's an incredible journey. It's not for the faint-hearted. You're sleeping out under tarps every night on the ground. You're paddling every day in a raft. You've got wet feet. You've got a wet wetsuit on. You're doing some pretty sketchy stuff, but obviously very safe. But it is a real adventure, and the effort is certainly worth the reward, or the reward is worth the effort, should I say. And as he alluded to, what we're doing here is at the end of the expedition or adventure, a boat comes from Strawn and takes us back up the Gordon River, comes out onto Macquarie Harbour, and it's about a 6-hour journey where we cruise up the Gordon River, and we start at 6 in the morning, and often it's still, and you get this beautiful mist and these beautiful moody shots, as he's alluding to here. So
it'd be one of those things you could, like, if your guys, your customers who weren't really up to doing the whole rafting thing, you can actually get on that boat that picks up the rafters from the Gordon River. So you can actually, the Stormbreaker, it leaves Strawn, Tasmania. You can do an overnight trip out to further down the Gordon River than any other commercial vehicle or vessel goes. So you can sort of come down overnight and then sleep on the boat on the river in a nice comfy bed, and then you can have all the smelly rafters on the boat on the way back. But you'll get all those beautiful photos up and down the Gordon, which in itself could almost be a trip. The Gordon's a stunning rainforest river where you get all these foggy conditions. But if there's people there that don't feel like rafting down a river and sleeping under the trees for 8 days, you can get a yacht out of Strawn up the river and back, and you'll get all these same sort of shots on the way out.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly worth doing. It's a beautiful cruise. Stunning part of the world. One thing that I did want to skip back to was a couple of sketchy videos. Speaking of sketchy,
is this the wild thing?
This is the wild thing. I think I put the video up on Facebook, and if you haven't seen it, go to my Facebook or go back to the presentation on the Franklin River, which I can point you towards. For those who don't know where it is, just send me an email, tom@tomputt.com, and I'll send you the link. But this is where we have to drag the raft up over a rock, a very large rock, let's call it a boulder, and then drop it through this chasm to the other side, reload the raft, have it tethered before we eventually just let go of that rope, and this water that's pouring underneath this rock propels us out the other side. And I'll show you both views. This is me sitting in the raft whilst I'm waiting for the guide to jump in the raft with me to then propel us down the river. And I thought, well, while I'm waiting, I may as well take a little bit of video just to show you the force of the river. As the boat shakes violently. And if you want to see the reverse angle of that, I'll show you that now. How far is the trip down the Franklin? Chris has asked. It's about 100, just over 100 kilometers, isn't it, Cam?
Yeah, I think it's on total about 110 Ks down the river.
110 kilometers of rafting, so to speak, over about 7 days. I was sitting in that raft, the previous raft here, in that same spot here, and here's the guys coming out of that same position. There's Rella and Jamie there. Same thing with before. That was good fun. So
that's funny. It's funny they've changed that wild thing. Up until a couple of years ago, you used to be the weight in the front of the boat, and all the gear was in the back, and you used to the nose of the boat used to go onto that rock on the corner there.
All right.
So I think they might have changed that for safety reasons. I don't know, but I've done it a few times, and I'm like, yeah, I've done that. You guys can do it next time.
I was much more comfortable doing it this time than I was last time.
Yeah.
I knew what to expect, but that last year I was pooing my pants on that.
Hey, funny you say that, not putting your pants, but the other day I had to drop some of our beautiful Cradle Mountain Overland Track books up to Lake Sinclair.
Yes.
And on the way back, guess who I ran into? I ran into Rella and Max at
one of the towns. Did it, really?
Yeah, I pulled over. The kids needed to go to the toilet, and I pulled over, and there was the Franklin River bus. And
at the river there at the.
Actually, further down, it's the little township it's called Ooze, which is in between Hobart and Lake Sinclair. And Franzi was driving the bus, and I said g'day to her. And then Rella and Max popped their head out of the boat, out of the bus, and said g'day, and had a quick chat to them, and then they're on their way again.
Great. So, they were just coming off the river again, were they?
They'd just been on another trip. Yeah, that was their third for the year, I think, or the second one after us. So they work hard.
These guides do about 8 to 10 trips down the river every year. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Throughout the
Crazy.
season. Season sort of starts in November and ends about April, I think it is. So
Yeah.
during the summer, when obviously the water is warmer and the river is, shall we say, less treacherous. Cam,
Yeah.
I did briefly skim over this image here. It's probably my favorite from the trip, and that's
Yeah.
one that I need to acknowledge you for, because you were the one who went, hey, did you see that little spot where that water's coming down the
Yeah.
little crevice there? And that was this part here. And
Yeah. It just reminded me, I've never been to Carragini, but it reminded me of that sort of those little pools that you get that people get all the beautiful famous shots at. But yeah, you're lucky to get that shot. I don't think anyone else got that shot, Tom, because
hold on. I got
I'm
that
pretty...
shot. Hold on. I'll tell you why I got that shot, because I chose to take my camera with me when we were walking around the
and we
rocks.
chose to load the raft up and load everything down and move
That's
it.
not true. Anyway, Cam, I think it's time for you to go.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be here long.
You're more than welcome
All
to stay, but we're just going to try and wrap it up now, because I've almost been on this for about 2 hours. But the final trip that we did this year, thanks, Cam.
Also, no worries. See you guys. Have a great Christmas, everyone.
2024. The final trip we did this year was a graduate workshop that we try and do every year, where we get away just to finish off the year, and we went up to Jervis Bay. Now, we chose Jervis Bay because apparently it's incredible, because you get these beautiful white sandy beaches, turquoise blue water, stunning for coastal landscapes, right? Well, you may have seen it rained about cats and dogs for about 24 hours while we were up there. 250 mil of rain in the space of 24 hours. And so rather than being a coastal workshop, it ended up being a rainforest and waterfall workshop. And this is up in the sort of hinterland area there, around various falls that I don't know the name of these days. I'm doing a little bit of drone action here. Actually, that was a video. Let me show you this one here. What you'll note from this photograph is that we had this mist sort of drifting through the photo or the landscape here. And this is another one here where I've got the drone just hovering above this landscape here, and all this cloud just drifting over the top, which was quite sexy. The drone footage here isn't as sharp as what it could be. I just had to get some low res files just to be able to show you that today. But it shoots in 4K at cinematic quality. It's quite amazing. I just want you to note this one here, Granite Falls, this one's called. This drops about 65 meters down this beautiful slope. This is not accessible. And yet, if you had a drone, you could fly it down to the bottom and get that photograph like I'm literally standing there. The drone is hovering probably a meter off the ground. This is a panorama. This is why drones are so freaking good. I mean, look at that. Not only to get these perspectives, but then, you're looking at a shot like this or like this and going, wonder what it looks like from down the bottom there. How cool would it be to be standing there and getting a really nice shot at the bottom of those waterfalls? Well, there's no way in hell you're going to get down there because there's no track. But instead, you can fly a drone and get that shot, for example. Here's another drone shot from another waterfall. Trying to remember the name of this one here. Terrible. I can't remember, but there was some pretty tricking flying needed here in order to get this drone into position to get a shot like that. But that was fun nonetheless. I just fell in love. As I said before, if I wasn't shooting stills, I'd be shooting video. I threw the 800mm to shoot wildlife, or the drone to get these types of shots, because you wouldn't get these otherwise. You're standing on a viewpoint, or should I say a lookout that doesn't give you access to this sort of stuff. So that was a bit of fun that we had there on that workshop. We had some brilliant weather. Even though it was very overcast and inclement, we got some great shots of the various rainforest and waterfalls in the back of Jervis Bay, around Fitzroy Falls sort of area, for those who might know it, about 3 hours south of Sydney. Finally, to wrap up, because it's been a long presentation, and thank you everybody for jumping on board, and thank you for all those watching the replay. Just thought I'd finish with a few outtakes. One of my passions has been photographing sport. I was a professional sports photographer, and this year, not only did I indulge a lot with that Monga lens, but I also decided that I needed a Nikon Z9 in order to photograph the various sports events that I go to, including my son Ollie, who is at Wesley College doing his final year next year. And I know, of course, love watching him play hockey. I used to play myself. And and using the Nikon for that purpose was quite incredible. So he plays at least twice a week for a club as well as for Wesley, and there's many thousands upon thousands. In fact, his hockey photographs from this year amounted to over 30,000 images that I took of him at hockey over the course of this winter, you know, doing his thing. And when you can shoot up to 20 frames per second in RAW, you can get through a lot of pictures, hence the sort of 30-odd thousand photographs that I've taken of him doing his thing. And in fact, you're shooting so many frames per second that you can put it together in stop motion video, and it works very well indeed. There's one of the hockey players diving there. And of course, the year rounded out. Well, it didn't round out. It was punctuated by this, and what I'm very much looking forward to in 2024 is marrying this gorgeous girl, Mary, who I've been dating, chaperoning, should I say, serenading for the past 11, 12 years. And back in May of 2023, we were down at the Tasman Hotel in Hobart, and I decided to man up and actually ask this beautiful girl to marry me. So she said yes, which was incredible. And that's us at dinner the night, not long after I asked her to marry me. And so, yes, we are getting married in 2024. So I can't wait for that. I'm going to stop this screen and share again and just show you what we are up to for 2024. I can't wait. And so what we'll be doing in 2024 is getting married. We're getting married in April of next year, which is exciting. But in between, we've got some workshops to run. So looking ahead to 2024, these are just on my website, tomputworkshops.com. We're going to, as I said, Iceland and Norway in the new year to photograph ice caves and the Northern Lights, which I can't wait for. Yellowstone again in February of 2024. Vicky, Anne, and Dennis are joining me again in the Kimberley for an amazing heli safari. We're doing it again. They did it last year with me. We're going back again this next year in March to photograph the wet season there. That's not the correct dates. We're going at the end of February. Anyway, we're going to Lord Howe Island for the first time in March 2024. Unfortunately, that's fully booked, but I can't wait to go there. I've been wanting to go there for many, many years. Patagonia in April. We still have places available for that, for anyone who'd like to jump on and come with us to Patagonia for 12 days. This is to coincide with the beautiful autumn color there. As I said, we've got one place available for Flinders Island in May, and then Iceland and the Faroe Islands again in September. Can't wait for that. And then off to Costa Rica for the first time with our good friend Juan at the end of November. In November in 2024. So I can't wait for that. And of course, my lights have gone out here in the gallery just as we're finishing up. It's telling me that we need to wrap it up. Hey, we have the book to give away. I wanted to thank everybody for jumping on the call tonight. I hope you enjoyed that. Give me your feedback. If you've got any questions, tom@tomput.com. If you're wanting links through to the various other presentations that I've sort of mentioned tonight that you may have missed, again, just email me, tom@tomput.com, and let me know which work or presentations you'd like to see. The plan for us next year is to actually put and migrate all of our presentations from COVID. And since then, there's over 100 workshops/videos online that we have sitting on a portal. We're going to migrate those over to YouTube so that everyone can have access to those for free. So that will be 2024. In the meantime, those who have been on tonight, I would like to nominate Linda Kitson, Chris McKenzie, and Peter Ryan for being on board tonight. You have won a copy of the Kaditanda Lake Air book. I'll get those in the mail to you this week. They should arrive after Christmas. You're the lucky winners of our giveaway tonight. Thank you. Peter, Chris, Linda, I have your address, but Chris McKenzie and Peter Ryan, I'm not sure that I have yours. So if you could email me, tom@tomput.com, your address, I can get those in the mail to you. Thank you very much for everybody for watching. It's been an incredible year. Thank you to everybody who supported our business, either the gallery or the workshops this year and in previous years. And for those supporting us in 2024, thank you so much. I certainly couldn't do this work and show you all these great photographs without your support. And I really thank you for that. I'm very appreciative that it doesn't go unnoticed. That's for sure. I don't get to do all these amazing things without you guys. So thank you very much. And thank you for being on the call tonight. Catch you again in the new year. Have a great Christmas, everybody. Stay safe. All the best for the 2024. Hope to see you out there at some stage soon. Thanks, guys.
Tom.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tom.
See ya.
See you guys.
Bye.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot to include the last two slides from the presentation. Of course, we ended with this photograph of Mary from the Tasman Hotel this year when I asked her to marry me. And then, of course, the total number of images, these are excluding the 30-odd thousand images I took for Ollie's hockey. But from this year, 54,305 images taken from February this year through till now. And then that totaled 4,378 gigabytes of storage. That's 4.3 terabytes. This is why I have hard drives here, there, and everywhere, all over the place. But yeah, a lot of photography, a lot of storage. No wonder I spend so much money on hard drives protecting all these images. But thanks very much for watching, guys, and catch you again soon. Bye.